Well, Ariel, cheers and welcome back to Pints with Air. September the 29th, man.
Yep, another month gone.
Another month gone. We're still
Too fast.
Yeah, but we still have just enough month left to enjoy a delicious Oktoberfest brew.
Right.
Yeah, so I found this Oktoberfest Marzenlager. Did I say that okay?
All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Found this Marzenlager and from Breckenridge Brewery. Say that 10 times fast, I dare you. But yeah, this was a fun treat to bring to the office here. I mean, normally we're used to these normal sized cans in the refrigerator, but I thought I'd surprise us with a little mini keg to share amongst the crew a little bit. It's pretty fantastic. I like Breckenridge a lot.
Yeah, I like some of the beers. It's kind of funny in Breckenridge Brewing, but they actually brew in Denver. You know, actually I grew up in Breckenridge. I visit Breckenridge quite a bit. We go up there during the winter and sometimes in the summer, and we enjoy the mountain town Breckenridge quite a bit. But they have a distillery too. They do some of their stuff there and some interesting stuff. They have a tasting room in downtown Breck that's fun to go to.
I haven't been there yet. Yeah, I've not been to Breck. I mean, gosh, I've lived here since 2008 and I haven't gone skiing or snowboarding or anything since I've lived here, but I know I know that's a prime spot to go to. So.
Yep.
I saw that judgmental wow.
No, I mean, I can't, because there's plenty of places I haven't been. I mean, I've been here for 29 years and there's so many places I've not been to and experienced. So
yeah,
I judge.
Well, we'll get out there, but yeah, it's a nice, I mean, things are feeling good. I'm feeling pretty blessed. This is a great week. It's you know, not necessarily something that is particularly like viewed in our household, I guess, but this week was Yom Kippur. Do you know Yom Kippur?
Okay.
In the Jewish tradition, and you know, it's a pretty significant day. But the reason why I mentioned that is you know, we've been picking up new relationships with dealers and distributors all over the world, and just like a recent addition to our team is out in Israel, because we have, you know, we've had long time partners with a group called Stereotype, with Effie Nomberg was our contact out there. He's been at it for many years, and Stereotype still they are still an Ayre distributor, and yeah, we've been partnered with them for a long time. But I had just recently got a communication from another distributor in Israel, Studio Avi Yafi, and really this is a really cool group. They have a lot of history in the country with recording music and being in like the recording side of things, but they also are a hi-fi dealer too. So they're really involved in the music. You know, they record music, but then they also sell hi-fi components, and we were contacted by them to initiate a new partnership with Studio Aviafi in Israel. So they also obtained the blessings from Stereotype with Effie Nomberg, and so they are on, you know, co-terms to not they're co-carrying Ayre in Israel for us. Essentially, it's a really exciting thing for us. It's really cool. So just kind of feeling the blessings of that, I guess, and they just seem like great people, especially for some of the trajectory that we have with our creative endeavors that could be coming down the road, new products for creative purposes. And you know, this is one of the last days that you can run out to your local newsstand or Barnes and Noble and pick up that beautiful green stereo file with the VX8 on the cover there. And you get to read some words from Ariel Brown himself in the article, and the great it measured out better than we expected. It was a great article and got a Class A rating. And if you guys want a copy, I think you got like 1 day left to run out and get that copy. And then we're feeling, gosh, we've got new team members at Ayre, and I'm not gonna like spill the beans yet. I just like to give enough of a hint, but we'll get
The team is growing.
The team is growing. Yeah. I think in the right direction with the right people. It's really exciting. But yeah, we picked up a couple new ones, and we'll definitely try to get their introductions made in due time as well. But yeah, it's starting to feel really, really awesome, and it's great for us around here, and being able to start sharing some of these new team members with you guys is something that we're looking forward to. But I guess that's all just like good stuff. I'm just feeling good, I guess. But let's talk about some Ayre history though, because one of the last episodes, 2 episodes ago, previously on Pints with Ayre, I did say it was kind of the end of chapter 1 in a sense for our kind of going over some of the product history and the classic products, and I kind of hinted at the fact that we're now moving into kind of the era of technology where Ariel, you started kind of taking on a bit more of like a lead kind of design role on the products, right? So it's kind of as far as our ability to kind of do some fun storytelling for Ayre Acoustics, this is kind of a nice segue, I think. So yeah, I want to hear all about kind of what happens with you taking on the K5. Like what came about from that, or how did that come about? How did Charlie kind of approach that with you?
I mean, I'm not sure it was ever really approached. It was just kind of the natural flow of things. So at that point, I was taking on more of the circuit board design and more. So I don't remember a specific conversation or anything that said, "All right, you're going to do this" or something. It just kind of happened. That's the way I remember it. I don't remember any specific conversation about it or anything like that. And so, I've been doing more and more, or at least helping more and more with circuit board layouts, and doing at that point had been doing all of the logic board and kind of digital layouts, as well as helping a lot with the analog and audio layouts. And so with K5 was probably the first one where I did virtually 100% of all the circuit board layouts. The K5, there's only two circuit board. It's a relatively simple product. So there's the main audio board, and then there's that front logic display board. Yeah, there it is, all laid out. This was in a way an easy product to design, because it was kind of a spin-off of the AX7, and so we use the same volume control technology that we did in the AX7, but we used a fully discrete analog stage here, where we did use an IC in the AX7. I think we talked about that. So we went back to our fully discrete buffers and gain stage, and then the K5. And so this, we tried something a little new here. We used at least when we first released it, we had at least the first for any of our kind of line level products, we used a bipolar output stage, which talk about a little bit later, because we ended up changing that in one of the very last upgrades or revisions of it. But yeah, so as far as like the the volume control and the input switching, was essentially borrowed or carried on from the AX7. The other thing that carried on from the AX7, which was overkill, was the power transformer.
Yeah.
So you see that big power transformer. That's the AX7 transformer. And I forget all our reasoning, but we figured that it was just better to just keep this really beefy, either for marketing or, for kind of, perception. And we already had them. It would have been a little bit cheaper because the actual needs of the preamp is quite a bit less than an integrated amp. So we could have used a much smaller transformer. It also would have made it look pretty weak and empty inside. So that was kind of, again, one of those things at the time that was, plenty of dealers and consumers and magazines, you would open up and take pictures inside. And so it already looks pretty bare inside, but at least with that big transformer, it looks substantial.
It does.
But it's definitely overkill for this product. So what else is in there? Yeah, again, it's again kind of a distilled version of the AX7. Now, what there's the biggest story around this was just that because it's a preamp, so it has balanced and single-ended outputs, and so the AX7, being integrated amp, only had the speaker outputs, which for us are balanced outputs. And so we got pretty far along in the development of the K5, and like the whole, at that time, the whole single-ended connection was kind of an afterthought for us. Like we didn't promote it, we didn't want to do it, but it was just necessary to provide single-ended inputs and outputs. But one of the things that we had not learned in the AX7 that bit us in the early development of the K5 is that, with the solid state switching of the volume control, those solid state switches, any and all of them, no matter what brand, or there's some of them there, they have a spec, and they have kind of a phenomenon. It's called charge injection. And so when you tell it to change inputs, they will inject a little pulse of energy, a little bit of energy released essentially, which can couple into your signal. And it's brief, and it that amount depends on the part itself. So that we've learned that basically, like a higher impedance part typically has a lower charge injection, or a lower it's also varies with the capacitance of things. So and so we had never experienced it with the AX7 because AX7 was fully balanced all the way through the output. And so this charge injection is basically being canceled out because of fully balanced nature. And that was true in the K5 as well, as long as you're using balanced outputs. But as soon as we did some field testing with the K5 with some single-ended output, there was little pops with every single change of the volume. So we tried to finally figure out what was going on. And so so we end up having to do is we had to add a whole differential buffer stage in the K5 to essentially, again, use that benefit of a balanced circuit to cancel out common mode noise. And so that little charge injection being equal in both phases is common mode, and so it gets canceled out. that was like, we had already ordered production boards, started stuffing production boards. So we had to scrap a significant batch of boards and time and work. And that was a big frantic scramble. And that was when I think Charlie was actually on a trip in Japan, I think, or something. And so like, I was again, like, I was actually, so not only I had to design alone, I had to deal with that for the first time, more or less on my own as well, dealing with scrambling, get it redesigned, retested, reordered. That was kind of one of the more stressful couple weeks, kind of really stressful weeks that I experienced there, because it was a fairly fatal bug, I'll call it, because it really was not acceptable to ship products that way.
It's a good learning experience though, right?
It was a great learning experience, and again, it certainly taught us and reinforced the fact that full and complete testing of all functions and features, including single-ended, earlier in our development cycle is very important. Every aspect needs to be vetted early before you commit to more than you want to bite off.
Yeah. So at the beginning of this, like Charlie, he didn't give you like any specific parameters that you had to meet or anything. It was just kind of like you just kind of were working off of something that you just did with the AX7. So, it wasn't just like you just like hand it off. I mean, we still talked about it and discussed it, and still collaborated on it, at least verbally, and would look at it and more or less review the schematics as well as circuit board layouts. But as far as the design of it, we're still more or less collaborating on it. But all the actual the actual work on the schematic and circuit board layout was on me. Got it. And yeah, I know over the years you've developed kind of a signature approach. I know anyone who knows what they're doing with regards to circuit design, when they look at our circuits, they kind of get a little bug-eyed. That's my shameless plug for you, I guess. But yeah, I know anyone who knows anything about circuit design, when they see our stuff right away, they get very curious how and why that we got to that point, because it's an amazing design and just well thought out, just totally symmetrical, and I don't think there's any detail that you overlook there.
Yeah. I figure, and this may be something that I mentioned a couple of years ago in one of these episodes, but we have certainly at that time we had enough of a signature circuit board layout style that we actually did Charlie and I had actually done a little bit of contract work for a friend's audio company, and it wasn't really necessarily publicized, but we had a shared distributor, and when they received the product and took it apart and looked at it, they recognized right away that was our work, even though it had not been publicized at all. And they called us and said, "You guys designed this, right?" And we're like, "Yeah, it's not public knowledge, but yes." Said it was obvious from the circuit board layout that it was done by us.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I like that. So this initially it came out as K5, right? And then it went XE, and then
K5X.
Okay.
And then XE, and then AMP. And so I'm gonna pull up Yeah, so again, like much like kind of the ones we really talked, the X and the XE was largely power supply related improvements. The MP, we had applied the MP moniker originally to like the CX7 and the C5. I think before earlier, and for those it was, you know, it was specifically minimum phase filters for those digital products. This you know, it was kind of again kind of following on after those upgrades, and so we needed a name for it, and so MP fit, and so, you know, we kind of jokingly called it, you know, maximum performance or something, because minimum phase did not apply to the preamp,
Right.
but so call it MP. So that was mostly, so the large change there was a change to the output stage, the actual analog output stage. So you know, we felt that, you know, while the performance was still excellent, and the user operation, everything about it was really clean, and just a well-functioning product, it was still lacking something, just a little bit of oomph and thing. So we did, you know, so we kind of looked at how they compared to some of our previous products, and what was different about them. One thing that stood out was the output stage, where we had tried a bipolar output stage in this preamp, whereas pretty much everything before had been a JFET output stage. And so we did some of the same tests and confirmed that it was a noticeable improvement going back to the JFET output stage. And so that's what the MP upgrade was basically putting in a JFET output stage, which for reworking old boards required a little bit of creativity, just because the pinout of the bipolar output device versus the JFET didn't match particularly, so we had to bend some leads. We had to cut some traces and add some resistors on the bottom of the board, I think. So anyway, it was definitely a non-trivial amount of rework to every board. And so I mean, I think if you look at what we charged for it originally and how much labor it took, I'm pretty sure we lost money on almost all those original upgrades. I mean, factor in all of the labor involved as far as receiving, unboxing, doing the work, testing, burning in, testing again, reboxing, the final setup. I'm sure we lost money on that. So it is the days of it.
Yeah, it is pretty cool to note, though, that you know, just kind of staying true to some of our I guess kind of our roots to wanting to continuously improve and update and upgrade our products. You know, like the E update came out like 2 years after the initial launch, it looks like, approximately, but yeah, 2009, or 7 years later, roughly, almost, the MP update came out. And so that it's just kind of cool to highlight that, you know, just again how we've been doing this for so long in our history, just kind of continuously trying to update and improve our products. And this is still a serviceable product, and we have one or two, I think, that are here right now and getting ready. I think there's one on the burn rack getting ready to be sent out again. And you know, we will continuously try to, with all of our products, always service them, update them, upgrade them, and keep them in use if people so desire.
Yeah. I think, and correctly, it might be that we actually released it as the K-5X. It may have never even been the K-5. I think at that point, like, it had, you know, like, because we had done the X upgrade to several previous products, and so the K-5X already had some. They basically had a lot of that technology built into it, and so kind of like we've done with some of the some like the 20 products, for instance, the KX520 was always the QX520. It was always a 20 just because it had all that technology built into it. And so there were some products that, even though they didn't ever have that upgrade available for them, they had it built in from the start, basically a similar technology that we developed in previous products, previous product lines. So I might be wrong on that. My records don't show that here right now, but I suspect.
I think you might be right. I think your suspicions might be right. K5X and then the E or evolution update and then the MP update.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah, and then
anyway,
so this kept going for a while though, right? Like when did this? So that was 2009, the MP update happened. Looks like there was a few updates up to 2012, but like when did it go out of production? Do you recall?
No, it was probably close to 2016, 2017, perhaps. I don't have those records in front of me.
Yeah.
So yeah, quite a while.
It had a great run.
Yeah. So I mean, really similar to AX7 for me is, this is one of my favorite products. Just the fact just of how simple and easy it is to use and how reliable it is, and it's just there's so few moving parts, and so again I don't mind and love the stepper motors and the actual physical volume control of K1 or the KXR or anything like that. But something about this product has always spoken to me. It's just so seamless, so silent, and so reliable. It never broke and just worked flawlessly and silently. It was great.
I love it too. It's kind of a special product for me as well, because it's one of the only pieces of Ayre equipment that I've built throughout as well. Like I haven't had an opportunity to fully assemble much else since the craziness and busyness that all the extra activity we've had this year has brought on. But yeah, at the beginning of the year, I had a chance to build like 5 or 6 of these things, and they were fun to build and put together and set the DC, and it was just it was a cool crash course on some like Ayre circuitry and Ayre history to get to build these things. So I learned a lot from it just working on these things. Yeah, it's a cool piece. And then so it had the symbology, like the symbols, and did it always have the symbols on it, or did we remove that? Or I know on some
so so again, just like the AX7, yes, it had the same options as far as the buttons. And I think if they use the same, no, because the AX7 did not have lighted buttons. So this one, I think we did lighted version. So there's a little light pipe in each of those buttons to actually indicate which input is active. So you press. So it's 4 inputs plus the tape out plus a mute button. And I think this thing also, this is the first time we used this rotary encoder. Again, it's kind of the whole fly-by-wire volume control system. So this rotary encoder, and we did quite a bit of research, and so this was at the time Clarostat made the best, and so it was relatively expensive at the time. It was like a $30-40 part. So it was an optical rotary encoder with I think 128 or 256 pulses per revolution, and so but it was just silky smooth, and also did not have very much slop, and so it just felt amazing, just silky smooth, and just it was a pleasure just to use and touch. And so just there's no resistance to it or very little resistant to it and just soaking smooth. And so that was, again, just that user interface of this product was just one of my favorite things about it. So again, yeah, so that communicated again with the microprocessor on the logic board that would go to sleep whenever it was not doing anything. You know, just like any of our products at the time, or around that era. So that when you either press a button or you turn, or you turned turn the volume knob, that little change in voltage and whatever signal it was would actually wake up the part. The oscillator would start running. It would process that request, do whatever change it needed to do, change the display, send the information over to the audio board to change the input or change the volume level, and then it would go back to sleep, shut off the oscillator so it was 100% quiet. Yeah, and then it used the same, you know, static blue segmented LED display as we used in the AX7, and we still use versions of that in our products today.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's timeless though. It really is. I think it's kind of a fun thing to note because it's something that you can read about again in Stereophile. But you know, we sent the VX8 out to Ken.
VX8.
Yeah, we sent the VX8 out to Ken Micallef. I hope I said that right. And he was testing it initially with a I think a tube preamp, and then he just reached back out and was like, "Hey, you guys have anything that I can use? Because I don't have a solid state preamp." And we just had a K5 laying around and threw the offer out, and he said, "Yeah, sure, throw it this way." And he loved it.
You actually would have loved to have sent one of our more modern ones, but we unfortunately we didn't have anything available at the time. So
yeah,
we gave him this. Again, you know, to me, that's still just just a testament to, even though this is a very old design, it holds its own against anything out there.
And yeah, I mean, it definitely does. And he just at the end of it, he, you know, aside from the rave review on the power amp, yeah, I got the communication saying, "Wow, like this preamp was amazing. Like, can I hold on to it? Because I don't have a solid state preamp." And so as of now, he still has that K5, and we're gonna let him hang on to that for a little bit, because yeah, I mean, it's something that I've seen before with other reviewers that they're looking at, you know, it's 2023 and they're reviewing a new DAC, but when you scroll down into the other associated gear, what's the preamp? It's a K1 or something, you know, it's you know, so it's our preamps. I think in essence, I think all of our products, they have kind of this unique kind of timeless character to each one, where they don't necessarily supersede the one that was before it. You know, it's like each one it stands out. It has a unique kind of performance characteristic, and there's even, you know, subtle enough variations to each one too, that it really, I think each product that we've ever put out just does have its own kind of distinct character, and it's not like we're trying to make that product irrelevant with the next one. It's like we're just kind of evolving further, I guess. But yeah, a lot of our classic stuff is reference worthy and in use like that. So.
Yeah. So the other thing I want to point out, this product was the first time we introduced a couple features. So one was, same here, was we call it processor pass-through mode, or like, you know, theater bypass, or more or less a unity gain input. So you can program any one of the 4 inputs. So if it's integrated into a home theater system, and then if you want to use it as the, you know, while you're also using like a surround sound processor, and it needs to control the volume. So for any one single input, you can program to be the unity gain. Yeah, and so when you select that input, the volume will go to, I think it's 56 or 57 is the unity gain level, meaning that the output level is the same as the input level, what unity gain means. So if you get 1 volt in, you get 1 volt out. And the second one was, and again, I don't think this was necessarily used very often, but at the time, there was enough high-end gear, and that the remote standard at the time was, especially for high-end audio companies, was almost universally called the RC5 standard. And so for this we allow, because there are a couple, and so if you have multiple pieces of gear in your room, and if they happen to have like the same kind of product code, you might get interference, so that if you are trying to control one piece, it changes the input or the volume on something else as well that you didn't want it to.
Yeah.
And so the RC5 standard has a option for what's called preamp 1 or preamp 2, which you can have. So the K5, you can tell it to be only recognize the preamp 2 if you happen to have a conflict with some other piece of gear in your system, which was really rare, but it happened, and we had some feedback on that. So anyway, that was both those features were some new, again, kind of programmable features that were the first time that we offered those type of things.
There's another thing, a bullet point that I just kind of came across that kind of piqued my interest. Maybe you can speak to this. It seems pretty cool. I mean, it obviously was a marketable bullet point, but input selector also switches ground connection so that all source components are completely disconnected except for the one selected. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I think I'm 95% sure that's true of the AX7 as well. And so and this was probably not true of the K3 and K1, I don't believe. But we just started it here. So again, with the solid state switching of the AX7 to K5, yes, we did. Again, because we talked about the D1 already, and so where we learned just how important ground isolation was between components. And so from then on, we really try to make sure that that we're not polluting grounds by having a whole bunch of kind of a hub for any number of products being connected to one spot, being able to share grounds. So yeah, so while we're switching the two signal phases, we also switch the ground, so that if you have four, there are the K5 has 4 inputs, 2 balanced, 2 single-ended. If you have so if you're using all 4 of them, if you have one selected, the other 3, the grounds are lifted. At least with a not with mega ohms, there is still a relatively high impedance, so that there is there were problems with lifting it 100%. There are risks and some consequences there. So yeah, but it does open that circuit to a very high impedance, such that it will not conduct very much noise or that or 60 hertz hum or anything like that. Yeah, that's something that we've pretty much continued in pretty much every product since.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean it all matters, and this unit itself has a floating ground, correct? Maybe. Yes.
As far as the AC power?
Yeah, incoming AC power.
Yeah, yes. And so, that was, and I'm not sure if we talked about this in our kind of history of products for this, but yes, that might have been like even part of the X or the E upgrade was that yeah, we disconnected the earth ground connection internally. We did a lot of listening tests, and so we actually do not connect to the earth ground because it was a huge benefit to the sound. That doesn't mean we have to take certain precautions to meet safety standards. So you have to have double isolation or double isolation. So you have to have more or less 2 layers of jacket or isolation from that from any AC power conductor. There needs to be 2 levels of mechanical security and isolation in case it somehow worked its way loose and tried to that it was not able to easily contact the chassis, which we don't have safety grounded anymore. But again, yeah, that helps with that whole ground isolation and real isolating component to component that we knew was such a big deal.
Glad I brought that up because I don't remember us diving into as much detail like that on a previous.
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, so I don't remember what was the first product that started out without it. I know, probably the first, at least 4 or 5 products started out with that being connected, and we used to have the ferrite input filter on them, and so kind of I think more or less roughly about when we removed the ferrites because it became magnetic is about when we lifted that ground as well, if I remember correctly, or shortly thereafter.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm glad I asked that. Well, yeah, so I think we covered most of what I know about this. I mean, unless there's any other fun kind of developmental stories or any things you can share with us about taking this on as a lead designer, I guess. Any challenges that you overcame or anything noteworthy?
I mean, again, there's a fairly at that time natural, it's kind of natural progression that we didn't really consciously even make, and so that's just the way it happened. And again, like just that kind of being kind of a more or less a child of the AX7. It was easy at first until it wasn't, until we ran into the problems that were not part of the AX7. So it was it was easy, then it was hard, but it was a great learning experience, and result I think is just a timeless piece.
Yeah, it'll fit into any system today and sound amazing. And yeah, I mean, we have the KX8 as the kind of the current successor, I guess, would be the modern day equivalent or option for people. But if anyone's looking around or is trying to pick up a K-5X and wants to update it to the full version, I mean, that's again still something that we service and offer, and we're gonna really pour a lot of our resources into that to make sure that we can continue to service and upgrade all of our products throughout our history. And so yeah, I mean, the KX8, the new stuff, it sounds awesome, but if anyone has a K5 and needs service or wants to send it our way, this is one of our favorite products, and we'd be happy to service it for you. But yeah, I appreciate the history lesson, Mr. Ariel. Thank you so much for sharing some of your stories with me some more and catching us up on some air history. Pretty prolific piece. I bet it felt pretty awesome to just kind of know that this was the direction that things were starting to head in at the time too.
Yeah, Yeah, it was exciting. You get to have really kind of taken it, you know, from start to finish. It was yeah, it was a notable experience. It was fun.
Man, and now that I think about it too, because you started in '96, this is 2002, so 6 years in, you're working right at the helm there. It's awesome. It's pretty cool to highlight that, I think, too. But yeah, I love this thing. I want to go build one. All right, man. Well, thank you so much. I'm all out, and I've got the keg, so if you want some more, you have to
All right,
come.
I'll be right down.
All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for hanging out with us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week on Pints with Ayre. Take care.
Cheers.